Good morning. Welcome to UCOV, which stands for Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Venice. Each and every one of you is welcome here today and every day. We're delighted that you chose to be with us. We hope you'll meet a new friend and find something in today's service that speaks to you. My name is Janet Knudsen, and I'll be today's worship associate. If you'd like to learn more about UCOV and all that we offer for learning and connection, please visit our website at uucov.org or our Facebook page. If you're joining us today online, please know that your donations are welcome and can be made remotely by clicking the donate button on our website. Are there any visitors with us today? Because we would love to have you. Please stand, if you will. And someone's coming with a mic right around the corner. And will you tell us your name and where you're from?
Yes, hello. My name is David, and I'm actually from right around the corner. I used to go to Unitarian Church as a kid and haven't been in years, so I thought I'd give it another try. So thank you for having me.
Any other visitors with us today? Yes, down front.
I'm Claire, and I'm from Mishawaka, Indiana. I visited my parents and the dentist and my spirit got rusty.
Well, welcome, Claire. Thank you for coming today.
I'm Bunny Caldwell. I'm from Maine. I belong to the Universalist Church in Waterville, Maine, and I'm a snowbird. So I'm staying in Nokomis, thank you, until May.
Welcome. Any other newcomers today? Please check the back of the order of service you were hopefully handed when you walked in the door to see all of the upcoming events this week and beyond. And I also have a couple other announcements to read. Great Decisions is a program by the Foreign Policy Association, and it will start Monday, February 13th from 6 to 8 p.m. Contact John Van Camp or Kathy Avery if you would like to register for that. And this Wednesday at 11 a.m., Paula Carney of Nava Maze will talk to us about the various residence options for seniors. Family members and caretakers are encouraged to attend to learn valuable information. Paula is a certified senior advisor, and she has helped several members of UCOV. Paula's talk is free and open to the community. If you're watching at home and you want to learn more about the events that we have coming up, please check uucov.org or the Breeze app. Now, can I make my first announcement? Yes, sure.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm Kathy Avery. I'm the Director of Religious Education and the worship team leader. And ironically, I have an announcement about announcements. In the past few weeks, we've had many fun activities and testimonials, which has taken a very good amount of our time at the beginning of our service. From here forward, all announcements read during the service need to be sent to me by noon the Saturday before that service. So at this point in time, we are truncating all of our announcements. And you can see all of those on your weekly flyer or on our calendars. The other announcement I have today is if you would please remember to return all hearing aids to the welcome desk before you leave. We've had a couple of them grow legs and walk away. Thank you.
Judith Parker is going to talk to us with a pledge campaign update, I believe.
Well, I've been asked to talk to you about how I came to UU and what UCOV means to me. I was raised in a free-thinking but religious home where Sunday church was required. By my teenage years, I was trending towards UU, encouraged by a liberal minister in my Presbyterian church. After college and out of the house, I stopped going to church because I was disgusted with organized religion, and frankly, religion wasn't part of my busy life. Fast forward 50 years. My husband died in 2012 after several years of declining health caused by Agent Orange. His death wasn't a surprise to me, but it led me on the path of discovery, and I started thinking about death and the meaning of life, and it became very important to me to search this out. And questions of, was I prepared for death? Had I done enough with my life? Could I get to a place of understanding? Could I die without regrets? What did I think about God? At the same time, after 6 years of being a caretaker, I felt the need to live my life to the fullest and enjoy every sunset and every smile and the joys of friendship, as well as quest for spiritual enlightenment and awareness. Sometime later, I attended a concert at a Unitarian church while visiting a friend. During the intermission, I grabbed some of the pamphlets in the front about UU beliefs and principles. Once home, I was really interested, and I scoured the web for more information, and the more I read, the more I felt that this was the path I needed to go on. I found a congregation that was unfortunately nearly an hour away and started going every Sunday. It was important to me. Back in Florida, because I was a snowbird, living in Port Charlotte, but planning to move to Venice, I tried all three of the local churches, Port Charlotte, Sarasota, Venice, and here it comes. UCOV was the only one where anybody spoke to me and made me feel welcome. I thought perhaps I would find some community here. Before I joined, I joined a discussion group that Keebler and Linda led on aging and spirituality, and wow, here was I, talking to people who were desperately, I wanted to hear about, and they were just talking about things that I wanted to explore, and I was hooked. I really was hooked. My Pathways class pushed me further. The spiritual fellowship group I joined gave me community as well as a place to explore questions and gain pieces of an answer. And I found, in dribs and drabs, I have found things that made me think. A paragraph here, a book suggested, another discussion, a sermon that caused me to think about something in a new way, a spiritual practice class that gave me a lot, and even more when I led a group myself. UCOV has given me all this, plus such a great group of people who care about the world as I do. Now, since this is really all about pledging, I want to tell you this. My mother was very, very proud of the fact that they tithed in the lean years as well as later on. Not necessarily all to the church, but to charity. And I've internalized that lesson, and I believe it's important to give back. And the lesson of gratitude is to share and give back to your community. So today, I invite you to give back to our UCOV community and our church and our congregation.
Thank you, Judith. This is a good time to greet people around you, so would you take a moment to do that, please? Okay, now. This is starting to turn into a party. Lisa will now, oh, actually, it's the choir that's going to play the prelude today. And so Marcia and the choir.
Our prelude today is by Joanne Shenandoah. She was from the Oneida clan of the Iroquois tribes, of the Iroquois Nation, and she sadly passed away in 2021. But this is one of her pieces, and it is, there's not a direct translation of it, it's more about the melody, the sounds, and the rhythm. Joanne Shenandoah with them.
Words for the chalice lighting. We light the chalice. May this become a place to consider what you've never considered, to imagine something new and unthinkable, and to dream dreams of new ways to create beauty and share love in the world. Today's service will be led by our guest minister, Reverend Gilbert Friend Jones, who goes by Bud with two Ds. Bud is a native of West Virginia. Since his ordination in 1971, he has served churches in Minnesota, Maine, Virginia, Georgia, Illinois, and Florida, most recently UU Sarasota. He is the author of 2 books, and his sermons are included in 5 of the 9 volumes of the Library of Distinctive Sermons. He has led Jews, Muslims, and Christians on interfaith pilgrimages in Spain, Morocco, Gibraltar, and Turkey, and has preached and taught seminars in Russia, India, Turkey, and the UK. He earned a doctorate at Howard University Divinity School, a Master of Divinity at Princeton, and an undergraduate degree at Frostburg State University in Maryland. He is married to Gretchen, an artist and realtor. And I am so delighted that he could be with us today, since he is preparing to start a new position in Minnesota next week. So, yes, because we are sending him off to Minnesota, we need to offer him an especially warm welcome today.
I've never been in this church before, and I think you are a fantastic congregation. I just feel the vitality and the energy, and I see so many of you. I mean, right after COVID, many churches are struggling just to get people in the pews. I am delighted to be here, and I actually delayed my moving to Minnesota for as long as I could. No, I did that because I wanted to be here, and we had made this commitment, and I just wanted to be here. And I do believe that when this is over, this bridge ministry that I'm going to do up there, I will return. And if I'm not sitting there, I'll be sitting there, maybe, you know. I am Christian. I do love the Christian church and the Christian faith. I love Scripture. So I'm not about to make a conversion, but I do also love the UU. And you are behind so much of the interfaith work that I've been doing with my life. And I'm proud of that, and I'm touched by that. And yes, my first church was in Maine. So, but it wasn't Waterville, it was South Paris. Do you know where that is? Yeah, okay. Halfway between Portland and Montreal, I think, but something like that. But I am just delighted to be here with you, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that. Breathe. Breathe. To all that is chaotic in you, let there come silence. Let there be a calming of the clamoring, a stilling of the voices that have laid their claim on you, that have made their home in you, that go with you even to the holy places, but will not let you rest, will not let you hear your life with wholeness, or feel the grace that fashioned you. Let what divides you cease. Let there come an end to what diminishes and demeans, and let depart all that keeps us in its cage. Let there be an opening into the quiet that lies beneath the chaos, where you find the peace you did not think possible, and see what shimmers within the storm. As we share these moments in our journey, let what distracts you cease. Let us join in worship together. Please rise in body or spirit. Our gathering hymn this morning may be somewhat unfamiliar. Number 360. Here we have gathered. And I want to call attention to the last verse, especially as we sing this together. Life has its battles, sorrows, and regrets, but in the shadows, let us not forget, we who now gather know each other's pain. Kindness can heal us. As we give, we gain. Sing now in friendship this our heart's own song.
Kathy Avery will now deliver a special message for the children.
Finding Our Way Home by Dial Hope. In her book, Traveling Mercies, Anne Lamott shares a story from her pastor about a time when her best friend got lost as a little girl. The little girl ran up and down the streets of the big town where they lived, but she couldn't find a single landmark. She was very frightened. Finally, a policeman stopped to help her. He put her in the passenger seat of his car, and they drove around until she finally saw her church. She pointed out to the policeman, and then she told him firmly, "You can let me out now. This is my church, and I can always find my way home from here." Lamont picks up on the metaphor and says, "That's why I've stayed so close to mine, because no matter how bad I am feeling, how lost or lonely or frightened, when I see the faces of the people at my church and hear their tawny voices, I can always find my way home." We all need people in our lives who help us feel at home with ourselves and the world around us. We all need people who will comfort us and encourage us and even challenge us to live better. I pray for you today that you would give yourself fully to such a community of people so that when you are lost or scared or confused or hurting, you always can find your way home. God of hope, we long for deep, meaningful relationships. We long for people who know us and accept us for who we are. We long for others with whom to share life's joys and burdens. But we acknowledge that life in community is not easy. It is both demanding and rewarding. Help us to continue to give of ourselves, to offer our time, our love, our acceptance, our listening ears, and caring hearts. Keep us open to receive your love and forgiveness, that it would be ours to share. Amen. Thank you for such a wonderful place to come home.
Giving is a sacred practice. It is how we worship. But our offering words are offered with levity, because giving should always happen with a smile. In that spirit, I want to remind you that UUs welcome all denominations. 5s, 10s, 20s, you decide. If you donate to the church electronically, feel free to touch the basket as it is passed to indicate your support.
The Welsh poet Waldo Williams once wrote a poem about his mother. Her name was Angharad. I don't speak Welsh or read Welsh, so why am I telling you this? Because it has been translated, and I want to share a few of the words of that poem, his mother. She was anxious for many at evening, and the weary knew the entrance to her court. She would rejoice with the joyful, sense the pain, join the feast. In the ocean of her heart, there was a cherishing. May it be so with all of us. We enter this time of sharing our joys and concerns. You can raise a hand, and someone will bring to you the microphone. Please share only the information for which you have permission to share, and speak briefly so that everyone who needs to can also share as well. Please.
Hi, I'm Mama Merkel, and I hope this is a celebration. Go Eagles.
I think that's a prayer.
Hi, my name is Cindy Bauman, and I just want to celebrate the fact that I remembered one line that was very important to me from Reverend Amy's sermon a couple of weeks ago, and it was the words, "Let us begin again in love." And I have used that with purpose in the last couple of weeks, and it makes my heart sing. Thank you.
My name is Grace Grote, and I want to tell you all how profoundly happy I am to be back here among you. I've had an adventure, and I've moved from one part of village on the Isle to a very much nicer place. Lovely apartment, everything fine, sounds great, but I do have to tell you that for the last 7 days, I have labeled and packed and packed and labeled and packed and labeled and packed and labeled and labeled and packed. And it's about Thursday I realized who I was. I was Mrs. Box. But now I'm back where I belong, and I do thank you all for being here.
It just occurred to me that Bev and I are celebrating, it should be celebrating our 50th anniversary of becoming Unitarians. So for all you underachievers, we welcome you.
Any more? May the love of this community tenderly embrace all who need love and concern. May the light of our community shine on the broken places of the world. May the work of our hands and hearts support, aid, and comfort all those who hunger or thirst for food or water, justice or freedom. May we never look away when we are needed. May those who are grieving be comforted. May those who are tired find rest. May the broken places be healed. May those who are filled with joy and laughter be abundant.
The noted author E.B. White ends his famous children's book, Charlotte's Web, with Charlotte the spider speaking to Wilbur the pig, whom she had saved from the butcher's knife. These autumn days will shorten and grow cold. The leaves will shake loose from the trees and fall. Christmas will come, then the snows of winter. You will live to enjoy the beauty of the frozen world, for you mean a great deal to Zuckerman, and he will not harm you ever. Winter will pass, the days will lengthen, the ice will melt in the pasture pond. The song sparrow will return and sing, the frogs will awake, the warm wind will blow again. All these sights and sounds and smells will be yours to enjoy, Wilbur, this lovely world, these precious days.
Our words for meditation today are by Louis Armstrong. I see trees of green. You can say it with me if you know. Red roses too, I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright, blessed day, the dark, sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow so pretty in the sky, and also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. With these words, please join me now in 1 minute of silent meditation, of thought, of prayer.
The children's author, Kate DiCamillo, once wrote in Time magazine, "My childhood best friend read Charlotte's Web over and over again as a kid. She would read the last page, turn the book over, and begin again. A few years ago, I asked her why. What was it that made you read and reread that book?" I asked her. "Did you think that if you read it again, things would turn out differently, better, that Charlotte wouldn't die?" "No," she said, "it wasn't that. I kept reading it not because I wanted it to turn out differently or thought that it would turn out differently, but because I knew for a fact that it wasn't going to turn out differently. I knew that a terrible thing was going to happen, and I also knew that it was going to be okay somehow. I thought that I couldn't bear it, but then when I read it again, it was all so beautiful. And I found out that I could bear it. That was what the story told me. That was what I needed to hear, that I could bear it somehow." Please rise now in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 128, "For All That Is Our Life."
Thank you. You sing well. Do you think you do? You do. You do. I've heard a lot of congregations. Generally, it's been painful, but I think it's your hymnody. I love the UU hymnal. I think it's just, it's rich and singable. It's wonderful. Thank you. The anthem, by the way, did bring back memories. When I was a child, in West Virginia, we were having a statewide referendum on liquor by the drink. Should we allow liquor by the drink? And my preacher, my pastor, was against it. And he thought it was a bad idea. And he preached a sermon one Sunday on taking all the beer and the wine and the alcoholic beverages down to the river and throwing them in. And the choir master literally had chosen as the following hymn, "Let Us Gather at the River." Why not? We always say there is spirit and the spirits. All right, so I'm going to tell you a very personal sermon. I did not expect this sermon. It spoke to me as I was preparing the sermon for you. It surprised me where it went and what it has to say. And I, in some ways it's very personal, and I apologize for sort of opening my life to you, but that's what's going to happen here in the next few minutes. We 5 cousins. There are just 2 of us left now. We always went to the park on the 4th of July. In 1960, the weather was cruelly muggy, but we ran and played and picnicked until we were exhausted. Darkness crept over us in slow motion. We spread our blanket on the hillside along with a gazillion other sweaty, sunburned, melodious children. Soon thousands of blood-sucking mosquitoes joined the fray, buzzing their praise to their hexapeta god for this wonderful and unexpected July the 4th feast. Finally, the fireworks began. And for a brief while, brilliant colors and loud noises filled the sky. Babies screamed, mothers oohed and awed as rockets exploded above us. When the last red glare faded, a fog of sulfur dioxide enveloped the crowd. We packed our now soggy blanket and food scraps, and we headed home. Approaching the house, we knew something was wrong. An egregious light poured through every door and window of the house. Loud lamenting echoed from within. An aunt ran toward us, and she shouted, "Mama is dead!" through her tears. She died while you were at the park. The adults carefully ushered us past the hospital bed in our living room where she lay. We were not allowed to look. Everyone was crying and praying and talking at the same time as they took us into the kitchen, and it was hours before the hearse arrived to take her away. And the adults took turns taking care of us. Some of them smoked cigarettes and drank coffee. They said very little. Our grandmother had been sick for a long time, and we had watched her grow weaker and weaker, and now she was gone. She was gone. My mother finally came to put me to bed. I got into my pajamas, brushed my teeth, crawled under the covers in my room. She sat beside me for a few moments. "She's better off now," Mom said between her sighs. "She's with Jesus now. She doesn't have any more pain. She's in heaven now." But the sounds of the weeping downstairs belied this assertion to my childish mind. Mom turned off the lights. She closed the door. I lay still in the darkness. I was alone. I was sad and confused and afraid. I raised my hand toward the ceiling, and I prayed really hard. "Mama, if you're there, touch my hand." And I held my hand, as long as I could manage it, but no touch was forthcoming. And I repeated this multiple times. I tried again. This time, I addressed my childhood hero, Abraham Lincoln. If you're there, touch my hand. And again, the room was still, and no one and nothing touched my hand. So I upped the ante, and I tried again. Jesus, if you're there, please touch my hand. And again, the room was still. No response. None. Finally, I cried in desperation, God, if you're there, touch my hand. And I was taught that God could do anything. And I waited and waited for the longest time, and my arm grew excruciatingly tired, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. Nothing. And finally, I dropped off to sleep. Mama and Abraham Lincoln and Jesus and even God went the way of Santa Claus for me that night. I was bereft. I was alone. I was in a dark and lonely world. I wonder now if my whole career in ministry has been one long attempt to get Mama to touch my hand. Has all the scholarship, all the travel, all the meditation, all the conversations down all the years, has all of that merely been my feeble attempt to get Jesus or God or even Abraham Lincoln just to reassure me that they were there, just to touch my hand? Perhaps one day they might. But that night, I sought and I did not find. I knocked and the door did not open. I called and there was no response. Did my family know I was hurting? Did they know that my heart was breaking? Were there any words or deeds or thoughts that might have given me more comfort? But we were such a dysfunctional family. And all of us were shut up in our own bubbles of pain, of loss, and of shame. We were incapable of reaching out to each other to give comfort to each other. Do you remember Chaim Podok's book, My Name is Asher Lev? Some of you do. In it, he tells the story of a young Jewish boy, Asher, and his father. And they're walking home from the synagogue. I don't know if you remember this, but this touched me deeply. And the boy saw a dead bird lying on its side against the curb near their house. Is it dead, Papa? Asher could not bring himself to look at it. Yes, his father answered. He answered in a sad and distant way. Why did it die? Everything that lives must die. Everything? Yes. You too, Papa? And Mama? Yes. And me? Yes. But then he added, may it be only after you live a long and good life, Asher. But Asher couldn't grasp it. He forced himself to look at that bird. Everything alive would one day be as still as that bird. Why, he asked. That's the way the Lord made the world, Asher. Why? So life would be precious, Asher. Something that is yours forever is never precious. Well, do I blame my parents or my family or my church or my community? No, of course not. They gave me all that they had to give as well as they could give it. To them, probably Mama was in heaven, and yes, she was with Jesus, and she was no longer in pain. And in telling me this, they wanted to comfort me and prolong the innocence of my childhood. But in truth, I think they were comforting themselves, trying to at least. And they were far from alone in this desire to protect us children from the knowledge of suffering and death. Surely you remember The Wizard of Oz. When Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer was filming that film in 1939, Louis Mayer decided to cut Judy Garland's solo Somewhere Over the Rainbow because, he said, it was too sad for children. He was persuaded not to cut it, but do you believe it? A couple of years ago, the award-winning author of children's literature, Matt de la Peña, joined with an equally esteemed New York Times illustrator, Lauren Long, to create a classic picture book. They called it Love. Have you seen it, any of you? Any of you have grandchildren? It's the book for them. Go get it. Love. According to Mr. de la Peña, as the book neared completion, he received a devastating communication. One of the illustrations, a critical illustration, would have to be deleted, or at least softened. And why? Get this. Because it showed a boy and his dog hiding under a piano while his parents are arguing in the living room. And the letter informed de Peña that this scene was too heavy for children and it might make the parents feel uncomfortable. Sound familiar, Floridians? Mr. de la Peña responded in a Time magazine article that we should not shield children from darkness. How honest can we be with kids, he asked. How honest should we be? Should we tell them the truth, or should we preserve their innocence? Now, I want to say, I think my sermon is not just about children, you understand. Maybe, he concludes, instead of anxiously trying to protect our children from every little hurt and heartache, our job is simply to support them through such experiences, to talk to them, to listen to them, to hold them. Kate de Camillo, another celebrated and wildly popular children's writer, added to Matt de la Peña's question her own. How do we tell the truth, she said, but make that truth bearable? There's the rub. She wrote, I have tried for a long time to figure out how E.B. White, the author of Charlotte's Web, did what he did, how he told the truth and made it bearable. And I think that you, writing to de la Peña, with your beautiful book about love, won't be surprised to learn that the only answer I could come up with was love. Love. E.B. White loved the world, And in loving the world, he told the truth about it. Its sorrow, its heartbreak, its devastating beauty. He trusted children enough to tell them the truth. And with that truth came comfort and the feeling that we were not alone. I think our job is to trust our children. I think our job is to see. I think our job is to let ourselves be seen. I think our job is to love the world. Well, I want to say, in their denial, my parents were in good company. The publishers of Love, the producers of The Wizard of Oz, and my parents operated with good intentions. They wanted to protect the children in their care from the toxic and Hobbesian realities that surround us. Even the Buddha's parents, we are told, locked the young Siddhartha away in the palace for many years. They wanted to preserve his innocence and protect him from an awareness of such evils as poverty, sickness, aging, and death. But I'm not going to surprise you when I say kids know so much already and have access to so much more. They see the devastation in the Ukraine. They see the tragic consequences of gun violence and police brutality. They see corruption in high places. We cannot shut them away in a palace of childhood innocence. They know about the desperation of migrants seeking asylum. They know about the thraldom wrought by addiction, of failing medical, legal, and governmental systems, of human trafficking. They know. What can we say to them? Indeed, what can we say to each other? Breathe in kinship, advises Robin Wall Kimmerer. Breathe out respect. Breathe. Against the admirable and understandable instinct to protect children, Kate DiCamillo offers an alternative: to love the world and tell the truth about it, its sorrow, its heartbreak, its beauty, and to assure the children that they are not alone. Miss DiCamillo's best friend, as you heard in the liturgy, knew that Charlotte was going to die, but she read the story over and over and over because she also knew that everything would be okay somehow. She may not have known that she was actually echoing the sentiment of Václav Havel, the first president of the Czech Republic. Hope, he said, is an orientation of the spirit. It is not the same as joy when things are going well, or willingness to invest in enterprises that are obviously headed for success, but rather, hope is an ability to work for something to succeed. Hope is definitely not the same as optimism. It is not the conviction that something will turn out well, but the certainty that something makes sense, regardless of how it turns out. It is this hope, above all, that gives us strength to live and continually try new things, even in conditions that seem as hopeless as ours do now. So recall now Dame Julian of Norwich, the anchoress whose revelations of divine love are the earliest surviving English language works by any woman. During her lifetime, her city suffered the devastating effects of the plague, of the peasants' revolt, and of a culture war so polarized that heretics were burned at the stake. We haven't gotten that far yet. She herself suffered a grave illness, and yet we remember her, don't we? For what? For that simple and profound affirmation, all shall be well. And all shall be well. And all manner of things shall be well. Say that with me. All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Two roads diverged, as Frost would say, on the night that my grandmother died. And in retrospect, I do not regret the path I chose. It has been a difficult path of seeking, of questions and doubt. Yet it has led me to a vast array of authors and composers, artists and philosophers, activists and even religions. It has expanded my life, my consciousness, and my very being. Perhaps that was God's intention all along. Yet still I search, still I question, still I will raise my hand occasionally in the darkness, and still I wait. Amen.
We extinguish this chalice, but not the love, fire, or warmth of this community. Carry these with you until we meet again. Our final hymn this morning is number 131, Love Will Guide Us. Please rise in body or spirit.
Remember, friends, that this precious life passes far too quickly. We have but little time to gladden the hearts of those who travel with us. So be swift to love. Make haste to be kind. And may the hope, joy, and love and wonder go with you and remain in your hearts always. Go in peace. Don't be afraid. Even in the darkest nights, remember, all shall be well, all shall be well, all manner of things shall be well. Amen. The service has ended, and your service in the world begins again. Peace, Ashe, may it be so.